If doctors are leaders in our society, it follows that med school applicants should demonstrate the characteristics of a good leader too. It makes sense then that many med schools will send secondary essay prompts asking you to describe what kind of a leader you are. But what if you feel like you don't have enough leadership experience? What if you've never been president of a club or started a nonprofit? Or what if, despite holding a leadership position, you haven't quite achieved the goals you set out to accomplish? In this video, we'll go over some common misconceptions about medical school secondary essays that fall under the leadership essay category. Then we'll discuss some pre-writing prompts to help you reflect on your leadership experiences even before you receive your secondary essay prompts. And finally, we'll take a boring, unremarkable leadership essay and transform it into an essay that will help convince adcoms that you have what it takes to become a future leader in medicine. So this video is part of our 6-video series designed to prepare you for 6 of the most common med school secondary essay prompts: the diversity essay, the adversity essay, the why us essay, the gap year essay, the leadership essay, and the additional information essay. Before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you can be the first to see our new resources with all the latest updates and guidance on med school admissions. All great doctors share a few of the same leadership qualities. They boldly face challenges, shoulder immense responsibility, make good decisions under pressure, set a positive example for their colleagues, and instill hope and confidence in their patients. Your job when writing your leadership essays will be to tell stories that illustrate how you've already been demonstrating those qualities in your life up till now. You may have heard the expression that not all heroes wear capes. Well, in reality, not all leaders hold official titles either. Leadership comes in many forms, and you can exhibit it without ever even holding a title like president, manager, or director. Some of the least effective leadership essays are the ones that simply list or describe the applicant's leadership positions and the associated responsibilities. It's far more important to give concrete evidence of your leadership in action, regardless of whether you held an official title at the time. A few roles where you're likely to have demonstrated your leadership skills are as a teacher, a caretaker, or a mentor, but you may also have developed and exercised those skills in an even less obvious context, like when advocating for a cause you're passionate about, taking initiative to meet a need in your community or school, or going out of your way to help someone who was struggling. You should also aim to show growth and progress in your leadership essay. The best leaders know that they always have room to grow, so be sure to devote some space in your essay to reflecting on what you've learned from your leadership experiences, what the outcome of your actions as a leader have been, and how you plan to continue developing your leadership skills in med school and beyond. Now that we've established what adcoms are really looking for in leadership essays, let's examine a few different leadership prompts. This prompt from Duke reads, "What do you value most as a leader and as a contributor? What attributes do you possess as a leader and as a team member, and how do you apply them on a daily basis?" They give you 400 words to respond. Interestingly, this prompt wants to know how you function both as a leader and as a team player. You'll want to thoroughly answer all aspects of the questions they pose. 1. What are your values as a leader? 2. What leadership qualities do you have? 3. What are your values as a contributing member of a team, even if you're not in charge? 4. What qualities and skills do you contribute as a team member? And 5. How do you apply your leadership and teamwork skills on a daily basis? As with most secondary essays, this prompt can best be answered in the form of a story from your own life. And that final question in the prompt is your cue to highlight stories from your everyday life, rather than just focusing on your single most impressive achievement as a leader. Another prompt from the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Phoenix, gets even more specific. Servant leadership is a core value and attribute we deem essential for our students to possess. To us, it is service to others where one possesses personal humility along with a strong professional will. Describe a time where you have practiced this skill or have seen this in another. What traits were exemplified, and how will you apply these traits to your career in medicine? You have 1,000 characters to respond, which is around 200 words. Here you'll notice that they actually give you a definition of the type of leadership they're seeking in applicants. They clearly state that they seek servant leaders, meaning those who serve others while possessing both personal humility and a strong professional will. Then they ask you to tell a story of a time either when you yourself demonstrated this type of leadership or when you witnessed someone else demonstrating it. We strongly recommend going with the first option. Telling someone else's story can make it difficult to actually convince adcoms that you have what it takes to be a good leader. especially within such a short character limit. And finally, be sure to leave space for the final part of the prompt, describing how you'll apply the same leadership traits to your career as a physician. Try to be as specific as possible here. It can be helpful to give a couple of hypothetical examples of how you'd exercise your servant leadership skills amidst specific scenarios that doctors face regularly. These next two prompts are examples of what we would consider leadership adjacent prompts. They might not specifically mention the word leadership anywhere, but they're asking you to demonstrate core leadership skills, so they should be approached similarly. California University of Science and Medicine's prompt reads, provide us with a specific example of something you did which helped build enthusiasm in others. You have 1,500 characters to respond. And Stanford School of Medicine asks, please describe an experience/situation when you advocated for someone else. You have 1,000 characters to respond to this one. Although these prompts ask two very different questions, how have you built enthusiasm in others and how have you advocated for someone else, when brainstorming your response for both, you should try to recall experiences where you took the initiative to step up, get out of your comfort zone, and take action. As with a more typical leadership essay prompt, you might tell a story about a scenario among your own family, friend group, or classmates. Alternatively, you might have a story to tell about a time when you were acting in an official leadership role for a job or organization. Either way, the most important thing is that you clearly spell out the decisions you made, the actions you took, and the effect of those decisions and actions. Then, if you have space, it's a good idea to mention how you'll apply what you learned from that experience to your future medical career. Taking what we know about the various types of leadership essays you may encounter among your secondaries, let's review a few pre-writing prompts you can begin working on as early as possible before you actually receive your secondary essay prompts. List 3 times you were in charge of an event, project, or activity. List 3 times you had to step up and make a significant decision or decisions that would impact others. List 3 times you had at least one other person looking to you for guidance or advice. Then for each of the experiences you've listed above, go back and answer the following questions. What responsibilities did you have? How did you set a plan in place for success? What obstacles did you encounter and how did you overcome them? What was the outcome? What did you learn and how did you grow? How could you apply what you learned to your future medical career? As you work on your pre-writing, you may find that the same experiences apply to several of the prompts. That's perfectly all right. Don't feel the need to come up with 9 separate leadership experiences when responding to the pre-writing prompts. For example, the time when you were in charge of an event might also be the time when you had to make significant, impactful decisions and you had people looking to you for guidance. Once you've completed your writing, save it somewhere that you'll be able to easily access it as soon as you receive your secondary prompts, so you can hit the ground running with the drafting process for any essays that fall under the leadership category. In addition to pre-writing, another great way to prepare yourself before receiving your secondaries is to review the prompts from previous admission cycles, since med schools frequently reuse them from one year to the next. At our Secondary Essay Premium Example Hub, you can browse the prompts for every medical school in the US and Canada, as well as full-length sample essays in response to each of these prompts. That's over 1,000 essays in total. One of the best ways to learn what makes a great essay is to also learn what makes a bad one. Let's take a look at this response to the University of Arizona College of Medicine Phoenix Leadership Essay Prompt. As a volunteer for my campus mental health helpline over the past 3 years, I've gained many skills that I believe to be essential in a good leader. Over time, I've learned how to be empathetic, calm, and patient while the student on the other end of the line shares their struggles. I've also learned how to work under pressure and handle even the most overwhelming challenges. After being promoted to supervisor last year, I found a lot of fulfillment in this new leadership role. I enjoy encouraging my fellow volunteers even on the tough days and providing advice about how to serve the needs of the students who call our helpline seeking guidance. This has truly been one of the most rewarding experiences of my undergraduate years, and I am so eager to continue developing these skills for empathy and communication-based leadership so that one day as a physician, I can be a leader that both my colleagues and my patients look up to. In this essay, the applicant has chosen to illustrate their leadership qualities using the example of their volunteer work for their campus's mental health helpline. This topic has plenty of potential for a great leadership essay, but where this draft falls short is its failure to give any concrete examples of what the work entailed, how the applicant exercised and developed their leadership skills, or what it might look like for them to apply those leadership skills to a career in medicine. They describe themselves as someone who is empathetic, calm, and patient, and able to work under pressure and provide advice to their peers. But without further context, they read more like bullet points on a resume than an essay. They're neither unique nor memorable, and they don't succeed in actually delivering what the prompt requires. Now let's take a look at a draft that has been heavily revised and vastly improved using the strategies we discussed for writing a great leadership essay. I began volunteering for my campus mental health helpline 3 years ago. Over time, I've learned how to build rapport, listen with patience and empathy, and ask questions that help me determine the best course of action. But my first few calls were very overwhelming. With that in mind, after my promotion to supervisor last year, I started sitting with new volunteers for their first calls. I let them lead, but I'm there to offer moral support and resources as needed. Afterward, I hold a debrief so they can reflect and decompress. Using their feedback, I've improved our training program so that future volunteers will feel more prepared. As a doctor, I'll create a safe space for my patients to openly discuss their mental health before reaching a crisis point. Even in high-pressure healthcare settings, I'll keep the lines of communication open with my colleagues so they feel supported and empowered to suggest opportunities for us to collectively grow and improve our quality of care. In this revised version of the essay, the applicant has given a thorough account of their time working for the campus mental health helpline. Despite the restrictive character limit, they show how they built specific leadership skills through their experiences serving students and training other volunteers. Then they even give examples of the specific actions they took and changes they implemented after stepping into their role as supervisor. In the final paragraph, they look ahead to their future career. This time, instead of vaguely stating a desire to be a good leader, they explain exactly what kind of work environment they aim to cultivate and what actions they'll take in order to do so. It's worth noting that the word leadership is never mentioned once in this draft of the essay, and yet the applicant has still managed to paint a valuable picture of how their leadership has exhibited the personal humility and strong professional will described in the prompt. The leadership essay is a great opportunity to show adcoms some of your best attributes and your most meaningful experiences. But whether you've served as president of several clubs or simply led by enacting positive change in the world around you, your leadership essays will need to go beyond just a list of your best qualities. Adcoms want to see your leadership in action, and with these pre-writing strategies, you'll have all you need to show adcoms that you're prepared to carry this profession into a brighter future. As you continue to work your way through med school secondaries, visit our Secondary Essay Premium Example Hub to browse sample essays in response to every single prompt required by every medical school in the US and Canada. There are over 1,000 essays in total. And don't forget to check out the other videos in our secondary series to learn more about how to tackle some of the other most common secondary prompts. Happy writing!